It is a real delight to be here to visit with you, and of course the campaign is really picking up steam nationally as well as in the two key states, both New Hampshire here and here in Iowa. And a lot of people have been asking me, are you surprised that all of a sudden that they're putting you in the top tier? I say, not so much. I think we've been there a long time. I think they've been in denial. But I did check about the time, how much time I would have to speak, and Rick guaranteed that I would have more than 89 seconds. But sometimes when you think you're coming up shortchanged, sometimes it comes out like a better deal. So my 89 seconds now are much more famous than the whole other 2 hours or hour and a half that was involved. So a lot of times in politics, we tend to easily be convinced that we're not treated fairly. And sometimes things are distorted, but I don't spend a whole lot of time on that. But I think that my motivation is not to be dealing, I let the staff deal with, working out the details. But I think my job as a member of Congress and as a candidate is do my very best to tell you the truth of what's going on and to tell you the truth of what has to be done in order to correct our problems. I think that should be our goal. I think all political action should be directed toward the preservation of liberty. If we had one thing to concentrate on as people being activists, it would be to promote and understand clearly the cause of liberty. Because the more liberty, the more freedoms that we have, and the more we understand and how that relates to private property, free markets, sound money, contracts, the more prosperous we'll be and the smaller the government will be. So that to me is the answer. The problem that we've had is that we have lost our confidence in the free market and individual liberty. We have lost our confidence in local government and family government, and we have delivered the responsibility over to the federal government. But every time we grant powers to the federal government, it takes more of our liberties away. If we expect the government to govern our lives, if we expect the government to govern and tell us how to spend our money, and if we expect our government to tell everybody else around the world to live, believe me, they can only do that at the expense of undermining our personal liberty. Now, I find a solution not too difficult. I think we get into this mess and have gotten into this mess very clearly because we don't have enough respect for the rule of law. So if that is the case, I would suggest that we have only individuals go to Washington who are dedicated to the rule of law, and that means to me to clearly understand the Constitution and be serious about obeying their oath of office. Probably, to me, the big issue is liberty, but for the casual observer and the people who are voting, the big issue is the economy, and rightfully so, because the weak economy is a consequence of bad economic policy and our careless attitude about markets and property rights. But this has been demonstrated, it has climaxed into a problem of debt. We have too much debt. Keynesian liberal economics teaches that debt is not a problem. Matter of fact, over the decades, there have even been conservative economists who says, don't worry about the debt. That isn't the problem. I disagree with that. Debt is the problem. If you got yourselves into debt or a business got into debt and you weren't making any profits, you better face up to it. You either have to clean up your act, improve your sales, or make a better product, or you'll go out of business. But governments have this tendency of not going out of business very easily because they have the use of force and power, and that is tax more, regulate more, print more money, and that just perpetuates the problem and delays the necessary corrections that have to come. And there's no strong determination to cut back on the spending. Today, there's this pretense in Washington about Congress dealing with cutting back and don't raise the debt limit, and if we can't do it, we'll have a super committee and they won't be able to do it because they're in total denial. They don't know how serious it is. This is very, very serious because if they knew or thought it was half as serious as I think it is, they would cut spending. They'd cut spending across the board. That is what we need, and so we need people determined to cut.